Inflation is a situation when the currency loses its value. Let's take, for example, the dollars buys less. It's one of the status that economy around the world is to be infected of it. Well, when we talk about inflation, we will immediately think and try to figure out the reason of why and how inflation starts and what influences it to grow more. When we talk about inflation, we'll simply talk about the increase in prices when your dollar is buying less than what it used to buy before. The main two causes of inflation are demand pull and cost push. First reason is demand pull inflation. It's the most common reason for an inflation to occur. Demand pull inflation occurs simply when the demand exceeds the goods or the services. This is the time when the merchant raises the prices just to follow up the demands, which causes a huge increase in the inflation and the economy. Secondly is the push inflation. This type of inflation rarely happens in comparison to the first type inflations, which is demand and pull inflation. The cost push inflation happens in many occasions. For example, the event of a shortage in supply that is combined with an enough percentage of demand. In this case, the producer would have the opportunity and the chance to raise prices, which will increase the inflation.
Inflation happens in any country all around the world. This is something common in any country, but what differs is the percentage of the inflation in the country and how the government deals with it. In Saudi Arabia, this great country suffers from the inflation. Unfortunately, Saudi Arabia contains many problems that will eventually cause a huge inflation to the economy of this great country. Real estate, monopoly in markets, wages inflation, lack of employees, the huge percentage of the consumers in comparison to producers, and finally the huge amount of importing combined with the lack of exporting. First, real estate and how it caused inflation. Saudi Arabia is a country that has been blessed by containing one of the biggest desert lands that could be used as a residence and support the citizens to have a house that he owns and terminate the greed of merchandisers who control the market of real estate. But what's really happening is that a great percentage of the land in Saudi Arabia is monopolized by greedy merchandisers. These merchandisers control the real estate by increasing the prices, which eventually cause inflation. Secondly, monopoly in markets what happened is that greedy merchandisers choose the most consumed productions and put control on it, also create a monopoly on these productions. For example, the natural resources such as milk, chicken, cheese, rice, and many different natural resources that the Saudi citizens rely on. Greedy merchandise will control the price by increasing the prices of it, which will also end eventually with creating a huge inflation.
Inflation is like a time bomb that could destroy a country's economy and make it suffer in many ways and on many sides. Real estate, monopoly, and unemployment percentage that is concentrating of the country's productive are all reasons of inflation in Saudi Arabia. First, inflation is real estate where the country suffers from the low percentage of available land to build houses and also used for making projects that would support the country. Well, in Saudi Arabia it is discovered that there are about 70% of the white lands in desert belongs to anonymous owners. The government could either confiscate these lands from their owners or to make a deal and buy it from them. This will inject a huge percentage of available lands in markets. The offers will exceed the demands in real estate, which would eventually cause the real estate market to decrease its prices, and at the same time the inflation will decrease. Second, monopoly in markets is also one of the dangerous elements that influence inflation in a country. A strong company takes on a product which allows it to take control of the prices without being asked or put on limit. The only solution to exterminate monopoly and the raising prices with no limits is to extract the monopoly and opening the way for other companies to take the opportunities to offer better prices for the same products. This will create a competition between companies to offer fewer price with better services. This will eventually result in the decreasing of inflation and taking control of it. Rate of unemployment and its effect on Saudi Arabia and how it influences inflation. The huge percentage of unemployed employees are very important to a country's productivity. The government should enhance the ads of available jobs, trying to attract unemployed citizens to get a job, which will increase the productivity and eventually support the economy of Saudi Arabia with the decrease of inflation. Those are three important fields that government should take care of. Talking about the role of community and the role of individual would require huge research. In brief, consumer behavior is one of the causes of inflation in Saudi Arabia. The Saudi individual is weak when it comes to determining needs from wants. Income is usually enough to cover most of the needs, but rarely enough to get all the wants. Managing the money spending and setting the priorities would affect the demand on some commodities that are not essential and as a result decrease prices and inflation rate. Education, professional individuals and media should all be partners in solving that issue.